The following is an exclusive presentation of WI Garden Media, the voice of Garden Talk Radio.
Coming up on the program today, we're going to discuss fall bulb planting as well as fall tree care. Our guest is permaculture consultant Darrell Frey will be with us, and we'll answer your garden questions. The hour's full, so join us.
You are listening to the most informationally packed hour of garden-focused radio in the country and on the internet with your host, husband and wife team Joey and Holly Baird. This is the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
And welcome to another edition of the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. Happy that you've chose us to allow us to be part of your day. I'm your host, Joey Baird. Beside me is my wife, co-host, best friend, and gardening partner,
Holly Baird.
This program is for you, about you, to help your garden grow better, to maintain your landscape, grow healthier trees, make your grass look greener, as well as preserving what you grow. Happy you're tuning in, whether you're listening to us on one of the 18 AM and FM frequencies, broadcasting our program here in 2024 through a radio app, through our parent website, which is the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com. Underneath the Season 8 tab at the top of the page, podcast replay or in-studio replay. Thank you so much. We appreciate that very much. Holly, do you know what the significance of this episode is?
Is it like mid-season?
No. This is the 275th original broadcast of this program.
Wow.
Yeah, 275 original, and we say that everything's documented. You can go to our parent website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, and all the seasons are listed, and you can go to your favorite podcast platform and search the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show, and you'll find all of them, all 275 shows listed, and all segments of all 275 shows listed. So you're going to find something that you're looking for. But 275 original broadcasts, and many of our stations rebroadcast the show at least once a week. Well, before we dive into the program, Holly, it's time for this week's Joke of the Week.
Yeah, so this week's Joke of the Week is, what is brown and runs through your yard?
An ostrich with a UPS shirt on.
A fence.
Oh, a fence. Okay.
I mean, not all fences have to be brown, but close enough.
All right.
This week's garden joke is brought to you by Rescue.com. American-made rescue products keep your family, home, and yard protected from pest insects like wasps, hornets, yellow jackets, flies, ants, and more. Learn more at Rescue.com. It's RESCUE.com.
Well, it's this time of year and when the preparation for the coming season needs to be had, and we're talking about planting fall bulbs for spring and summer beauty. There's some things in which we need to know in order to do this correctly so we can have those bulbs and flowers bloom at the right time next spring.
Right. So, yeah. So you can, you need to know when to plant them. So we're going to talk about zones 1 through 7.
Yep.
Which should be
which is everybody. I've been we're looking at most of our stations are in the 3 to 7 range, but this general in climates where cold winters, the bulbs can be planted in the ground in the fall where they can chill and have enough chill hours in order to properly grow and develop the blooms that you are requesting them to in the spring.
Right. So the fall bulbs, yeah, so that's exactly right. So in the fall, you want the ground temperatures to be around 40 to 50 degrees and 6 to 8 weeks before the ground freezes.
Now, a good guess on when that might be. The general rule of thumb is if you can dig in the ground, you can still plant them. You really want to get them in the ground prior to like December so they have enough chill hours to start developing a root, and there'll be a little growth, but so they can get established and they can do their thing. They got to have that cold hours. Now we hear stories of, I forgot to plant them and they were in the garage. Can I plant them in the spring? Yeah, you can. You're probably not going to get the results that you're wanting. So let's do it in the fall like we're supposed to.
Yeah. Yep. So you want to do them in the fall. I know, like you'd said, people will do them in the spring or forest bulbs or whatever.
Forest bulbs, yeah. We see that around Mother's Day with daffodils. You get them in this little cute little container you pay like $9 or $12 for, and a week later they're dead because they can't sustain themselves in this little 4-inch pot, and they force the bulbs. I mean, people will plant them in the ground, but likelihood of those really being a long-term investment is pretty slim.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So you want to keep that in mind, especially if you see those in the store. So where to plant fall bulbs? You want to plant bulbs just about anywhere in your garden, as long as the soil drains well. The Dutch, who plant millions of bulbs every year, tulip bulbs, they say bulbs don't like wet feet, so you want to avoid areas that the water collects, like basins, bottom of hills, etc.
Now, if you are one of the creative, artsy, crafty type, you can choose a selection of bulbs in which you can plant in the fall, and you will which will successionally bloom. You got to stack them so the front ones bloom first, and the next row, and the next row, and the next row. So based on where you're at and what you're looking for, this can be done. Now you can get your fall bulbs at jungseed.com. That's JUNGSEED.com, and use coupon code 10TG24 and save 10% off your order. Also, all coupon codes you'll hear throughout the program and have heard this year are found at our parent website, the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com, under the Money tab at the top of the page.
That's very helpful. Yeah, so that's the point where to plant them. And then you can prepare the soil by making sure that it's loose and workable. So you want to remove any weeds, rocks, debris, big sticks, what have you. And then if it's not an established garden bed, you could add some organic matter. So say like out here by where we live, there's this one kind of cut through road, and I've seen them on the side of this like random hill, daffodils. And so that would be a situation where like it's not an established garden bed. And so maybe you just kind of dig around, put some organic matter in there, and then plant your bulbs. So you can mix in like compost, organic compost, and yeah, that would be organic matter.
Now, you can do bulbs in a container. We've seen this done. It can be done. However, the challenge is, just like people who plant fall garlic in containers, the elevation of the container exposes 3 sides to the air instead of one side when it's in the ground, the soil upside. And if it get too cold, it will become a giant block of ice and can damage or prohibit your bulbs from growing. Now, you can also, larger the container, the more soil, the less likely that may occur. And you can also do the layering effect where, like, alliums need to be about 8 inches deep. And then you could go like a daffodils, they can be 8 inches. So you do one layer like a round that's 8 inches, then you do another round inside of that circle with croches, something that's 4 inches deep or 3 inches deep, where you can get multiple different flowers that are going to bloom at multiple different times in the same container. You can also do that in a very limited amount of space in your ground too.
Right. Yeah. So that's the options there. You want to make sure that you are digging the holes the proper height, depth.
Now, these, when we talk about fall bulbs, Holly, we're not talking one and done like a carrot or a tomato. These are annuals or perennials. These will come back year after year after year. So the moral of this lesson is, do it right the first time, so they will continue to come back for years to come. Now, you may have problems with squirrels coming in and digging up the bulbs in which you have planted. So there's a couple of options in which you can utilize in this aspect. Chili powder. You can plant the area. Let's say it's a 4x4 square foot bed area. You can sprinkle chili powder over that area. It will get in their nostrils. They don't like that. They have sensitive noses, so they could ingest it, breathe it in, they go elsewhere. You can also lay chicken wire down or poultry fencing down to prevent the squirrels from digging up the bulbs. And then in the spring, when you see the bulbs begin to emerge, you can remove that wire if you feel that it needs to be removed, and problem solved. So that's two of several options in which it comes to working the bulbs in the ground and keeping them in the ground. Again, you don't want to put them in an area where you're going to also have a lot of water flowing through, like a valley, or where you're going to have channels of water that is going to that naturally flows through your property. Oh, that's kind of a low area. It needs a lot of water. I'll put it there. You're going to flush the soil off of the bulbs in the fall, and they will not be able to get established in the spring. We had that happen with garlic a couple of years ago. We didn't plant it deep enough, and then we had a lot of rain and not snow, and it really exposed the cloves. Where the cloves were just rooted in the ground, the clove was above the ground, the roots were in the ground, so we had to come in the spring and dig them back in. It does work. It does. You can dig them in, but you want to make sure you plant them in the right spot at the right time and use good organic matter in order to supplement the nutrient that the plant needs when you're planting.
Yeah, you said it. So the bulbs, they go into different depths, as we talked about. So just to give you kind of an idea, the crocus, the hyacinth, those go a little bit shallower, 4 inches, and then daffodils, most tulips, and irises, and then the alliums go in at 8 inches. So that's where they go.
Yeah, and there's other ones in which that's just a few. We don't have time to go through all of them. So if you're interested in fall bulb planting, you can certainly get your bulbs from jungseed.com. Use coupon code 10TG24 and save 10% on your order. And design something in which it will be low maintenance. And then once you get it established, like in the spring as they come up, you can really put a lot of mulch around it, so you can know where they're at, and you can have a permanent flower bed that will work for you, that you don't have to work for it. Well, Walton's Incorporated works for you because they offer a great coupon code, but also they have products that also work.
Yeah, we are brought to you today by our sponsor, Walton's Inc. We know you care about where your food comes from. Canning and preserving your fruits and vegetables is great, but what about the meat? At Walton's, you can get the equipment, seasoning, and supplies to make sausage, jerky, and any of their meat products your way to your high standards. Do you want to make snack sticks that people will actually like? Walton's created Meatgistics.com, an informational site to help you make the best finished product. Walton's has the full line of their own meat grinders, mixers, and sausage stuffers to help you go from animal to edible. Walton's everything but the meat. You can use code GROW50, that's GROW50, to save 10% off your orders of $50 or more.
When we return, hang out with us. We're going to discuss some fall tree maintenance to get those trees ready to go for the winter. You're tuned in to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Got a question for Joey and Holly? Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
Blue Ribbon Organics, providing locally made organic compost and soil blends for gardeners, farms, landscaping, and more. To find our products nearest you, visit blueribbonorganics.com.
Happy 65th anniversary to David J. Frank, Southeastern Wisconsin's leading landscape company. Their award-winning services include everything from lawn care, landscape maintenance, design, construction, renovation, irrigation, sustainability, and more. Big or small, let the experts at David J. Frank handle the hard work for you. Find out more at davidjfrank.com. Deer Defeat is an all-natural based animal repellent to keep deer and rabbits away from your valuable plants that is odorless after 30 minutes and dries clear. It creates a continuous, invisible shield to protect your plants. Works for 30 days through rain, snow, and freeze. Will not clog your sprayer. Apply to your property without environmental damage. You can spray directly onto your plants up to flowering, then apply around your plants to continue protection. No need to reapply. Money back guarantee. To purchase, go to deerdefeat.com and use coupon code RADIO to save 10% off your order. Make hand watering easy and enjoyable with HoseLink retractable hose reels. No more tripping over hoses, kinks, tangles, and avoiding rolling the hose up. With an automatic retractable hose link saves you time and effort manually coiling up your hose, leaving your focus on the things that will bring you joy in your garden. Available in multiple colors and lengths, you'll be sure to find the retractable hose that works for you. To find out more and to buy online via hoselink.com, use coupon code RADIO10 for $10 discount. Mantis tillers, the premium long-lasting gas-powered tillers, are the perfect solution for any garden. This Mantis machine is available with 2 or 4 cycle engines with a 19-inch or 16-inch tilling width. Your DIY companion in your garden and your lawn converts easily for edging, aerating, and more with optional attachments. Find details at mantis.com. Dig planting holes from a comfortable standing position. Step, twist, pull, and plant. Visit ProPlugger.com.
Welcome back to the Gardening with Joy and Holly radio show. Thank you for being with us today. Moments away, fall tree care. But first, a word from our good bee friends, Honey Bee Healthy.
Since 2000, Honey Bee Healthy Inc. has helped beekeepers maintain healthy and thriving hives. Attracting pollinators to your garden this year is as simple as hanging a hummingbird feeder with a mixture of sugar water and Honey Bee Healthy Original. Don't be alarmed to see birds, bees, and butterflies dining together at the feeder. Pollinators coexist peacefully. Honey Bee Healthy Inc. is offering a 10% discount on an 8-ounce bottle of Honey Bee Healthy Original to this show's listeners. Enter code BEEGARDEN, that's BEE Garden, at checkout. For more information, mixing instructions, and to purchase products, visit honeybeehealthy.com.
So, tree care. We talked about planting our fall bulbs. We got some tree care maintenance in which we can apply to our trees.
Right. So as you know, summer, well, not
fall
draws to close.
What was Michael Scott said? Fall had to, or summer had to end at some time.
Yeah.
Well, when the leaf falls and the tree's orange.
Right. Exactly. So I think people think tree care is just like the tree itself. Mm-hmm. And that's not true. There's some different things that go into it. So one thing is soil care. So this would be soil around, the tree, and
assuming you didn't do volcanic mulch, meaning you mulched it and then put it like a foot up the trunk of the tree, and a lot of problems can be caused by this.
Yes.
So don't do it. We see the city folks, the city maintenance people do this in multiple cities all over the country.
Right. So, yeah. So what you want to do is, when you think about the trees in the forest, how they have their base, I guess, whatever you want to call it, the soil base, the area around them.
Right.
They have, the leaves that fall down, the organic matter, etc., that breaks down and feeds the soil. So that would be similar or same here for your own. So you might want to fertilize with some sort of organic matter, a slow release fertilizer in the fall. This mimics nature slowly by steadily providing nutrients to help your tree grow throughout the following seasons. So that way they can have consistent access to the nutrients. Now,
they do have, according to what your tree may require, fertilizer stakes where you take and pound it looks like a beefy hot dog into the ground at certain perimeters around the base of the tree, and it releases the nutrient into the fertilizer into the ground as the tree requires it. So it's not like you have to take a handful of 10, 10, 10 or 10, 12, 14 and sprinkle around. You can, but there is a better method to doing this and more effective way of getting the fertilizer to the roots of the tree itself. Now, this is also if you have newly established trees, if you have done that this year, we certainly hope that if you did stake it, you didn't stake it down like a radio tower where it couldn't move. It is okay to stake down the tree, but allow the tree to have movement because the strength of the tree is in its trunk. And if you prohibit the trunk from moving, the tree gets very, very weak. There's a whole nother topic. We've covered that multiple times over the 8 years about proper tree planting. So we won't go into that at this point.
Right. So that's the staking, or whatever you just
feeding
mentioned.
The plant,
feeding
the tree.
Thank you. And then so you want to freshen up the mulch. Joey talked about volcanic mulch. You want to make sure you are mulching properly and safely.
Now you don't have to mulch a tree.
No.
There's a lot of trees. You drive around any city, there's trees all over front yards, oak trees, elm trees, maple trees. very large trees, no mulch whatsoever. You don't have to mulch. Some people will choose to mulch for a couple of reasons here. One, to hold some moisture in on newly established or young trees, or two, on larger trees, so they don't have to come up close to the tree and try to trim around it with a lawnmower or a string trimmer or weed whacker. It just makes the process of lawn maintenance a little easier. And it adds a little, oh, look at that pretty tree. It's got that pretty border around it with the mulch.
Exactly.
And it helps reduce, you don't have to, water as much. Some people don't water their trees at all. Other people have a system in which the tree gets watered a certain amount every day.
Right. So then that leads to the reducing irrigation. You don't necessarily have to irrigate, as Joey had said. It's up to you, but some people do choose to irrigate their trees. And then in the fall, because of them dropping their leaves, you don't need to water them in the fall. So the next step would be to clean up anything like dead branches, anything that looks like it would if we had like a heavy snowstorm could possibly fall off that tree.
Right. Trim limbs that are dead, or remove those in which are going to cause damage to property and or you or others. We're talking large trees. If it's a small little tree, it's got a couple of dead twigs in it, this is not a big deal. But here is the thing you need to be aware of. If you've got a big tree on your property and it falls on something or someone, you are liable for that through law. So you are, as the homeowner, as the tree caretaker, responsible for making sure that tree is as safe as it can be. Now, if you've got, let's say, a 50-year-old maple tree, you may not know that it's hollow inside, and here comes a big wind and a limb snaps off, or it falls over and breaks because there's no structural components to it because it's so weak. That's different. But if you visually can see, oh, that limb's hanging, I'll get it tomorrow. That's not the way to go about doing that. Now, if you're going to hire someone to do tree trimming, because you are not, one, physically able to, or it's in a position in which it's cheaper to hire somebody than pay for the ambulance ride to the hospital and a week in the hospital because you fell off a ladder and cut your leg with a chainsaw. You want to hire someone who has paperwork, who has insurance, who has a reputation, not somebody that's got a magnet on the side of their truck and they may or may not be around when the tree falls in the incorrect place and lands on something that it shouldn't have landed on. You know these people. There are some that do tree removal or tree maintenance that are one or two people that do a phenomenal job. However, the bad people has made it very difficult for those people who do a very good job, who don't have a very big operation. So do your research on whomever you hire. Make sure they have the correct paperwork and insurance that will cover anything for you or other people's property to get that tree removed. And it is important to get certain things removed and have it professionally done because it's easier, safer, and it's done correctly.
There you go. So you want to prepare, again, trim anything. Otherwise, you could support any weak limbs with a cable or a brace.
Yeah.
And then you want to, if you have evergreens, you want to water them in the fall. Give them a nice big hearty gulp of water. This will help them maintain themselves throughout the winter. And that's helpful as well. And evergreens, many people don't think about them because they're not deciduous and they just kind of exist there. So make sure you are paying attention to the evergreens. And then you want to inspect your trees and shrubs. So don't forget, a lot of people don't think about the shrubs. Those are kind of a tree, like a mini tree, I guess, or bushes, whatever. And you want to make sure that they maybe... Sometimes shrubs will kind of pull out of the soil, so you want to make sure that they are properly rooted. And you want to be on the lookout for any problems, diseases, etc.
Well, let's talk about mushrooms. People will see mushrooms growing on the tree or around the root system. What does that tell them about the tree and the tree health?
So mushrooms can attack and decay tree roots. So it's not necessarily about the tree health. It's about mushrooms just wanting to do their mushroom thing.
Okay.
So you want to, if you do find mushrooms at the base of your tree, or not at the base, but like on the
trunk.
Thank you. You want to remove those mushrooms because they will cause decay and rot. So they might be cute, or like pretty or whatever, but removing them is better for the tree in the long run.
Don't overwater the tree since fungi can thrive in moist conditions. So you might have some mushrooms coming up. There's a little bit is not bad. You can just knock them down if you're not concerned. If you're concerned with it. But when you have very large fungi growing on the tree or the roots, that is when you need to be more aware of what's happening. Now, the other thing in fall tree maintenance is your mileage may vary on this, is cleanup of leaves. Do you clean them up? Do you let them be? Do you mulch them where they're at? In certain places, HOAs, you don't have a choice. Basically, if 4 leaves fall from the tree, you better be home and clean those 4 leaves up, or Bill, who's the HOA president, will come over and say you got 30 seconds to get those up. I'm being dramatic, but we've seen these videos of how dictatorship that these people want to be because they get a little power and whatnot. I would leave the leaves as long as possible. Now, if you have a manicured lawn and you don't want any issue with that grass, then you would want to remove the leaves. Just run the lawnmower over them, mulch them, let that organic matter go back in the soil. Raking them up is fine. Put them in your vegetable garden. We put leaves in our vegetable garden, never have mulched them. We just put the whole leaves and just pile 2-3 foot mounds in our raised beds. So that's up to you how you want to do such. If you do allow the leaves to stay on the grass, yes, it can inhibit the grass production, especially early on in the fall. Now, later in the fall, when it's really cold and the cloudiness and you're getting some snow, not that big of a deal. But you can always bag them up, mulch them where they're at, and you can get your leaves cleaned up that way. And with pine trees, evergreens, you don't want to remove all the pine needles. You can remove some if you're going to use it for mulch, but the tree needs a certain an inch or so around the base as a natural mulch for your evergreen. So don't clean that bare soil out from underneath, or clean it to bare soil. Leave that pine straw, is what the industry calls it, pine needles in underneath the tree. Well, Holly, though we're talking about fall, summer is still here. It's still very hot, and the Japanese beetles are wreaking havoc on our gardens. How do we fix this?
If you're looking to successfully control beetles without damaging the environment, look no further than Beetle Gone. Phylum bioproducts derived from a naturally occurring soil bacteria. Beetle Gone is the only organic solution that successfully controls beetle invaders. Just mix the powder with water and spray on your plants. Once ingested, the targeted pests will stop feeding and die. And since it's an organic BT product, you know it's a great choice to use on your fruits and veggies in addition to your ornamental flowers and trees.
Not only is Beetle Gone best because it works, what I like most about it, it is safe to be used around beneficial insects such as ladybugs, butterflies, and bees, and has no water toxicity issues. You can find all that information out at BeetleGone.com. That's BeetleGone.com. Hang out with us. Darrell Frey will be with us. Permaculture consultant will be with us when we return. You're tuned in to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Have a garden question? Give Joey and Holly a call now or anytime 24/7. Just dial 1-800-927-SHOW. If you can't get through, leave a message and they will call you back. Call now 1-800-927-SHOW.
Take the guesswork out of composting with the AeroBin 400 or smaller 200 for easy composting. The AeroBin mimics how nature decomposes waste. The AeroBin is easy to use. You prepare your balanced organic waste, just open it up, drop it in, and close. After a short time, fertile compost is produced, which is easily accessed via the lower side door. The thermal insulation in the AeroBin conserves heat, leading to rapid breakdown of the biomass and works efficiently year-round, even in cooler regions. There is no need to turn the biomass, and it is pet and rodent resistant. It has little odor and can kill annoying weeds and seeds. it is BPA free. The Aerobin 400 or 200 comes with a reservoir at the bottom to collect the leachate. When diluted, makes for great compost tea liquid fertilizer. Aerobin composts kitchen and garden waste quickly. Easy to assemble with no special tools needed. The Aerobin makes composting rewarding and easy. Go to burpee.com or homedepot.com to purchase. Protect your plants from damage with the 3-in-1 Plant Guard and Special Blend Fertilizer. Visit ivorganics.com. Use promo code RADIO10 to save 10% off your order. Are you ready to take control of your home's comfort? With Mr. Cool DIY Direct, empower yourself with our top-notch do-it-yourself cooling and heating solution. Introducing the Mr. Cool 4th Generation Mini Split, the DIY-friendly way to keep your home perfectly comfortable all year round. Our systems come with everything you need for installation, including our patented pre-charge line sets, eliminating the need for expensive professional help. Visit MrCoolDIYDirect.com to learn more and to take the first step towards a cooler, more comfortable home. Don't forget, use promo code GARDEN for a special discount and free nationwide shipping. Mr. Cool DIY Direct. Cool your house, heat your space, all by yourself. Pomona's Universal Pectin is a high-quality pectin that gels reliably with low amounts of any sweetener. If you're trying to reduce the amount of sugar in your diet, you'll love Pomona's Universal Pectin. Now you can make healthy homemade jams and jellies sweetened to your taste. You can use sugar or honey to sweeten. Pomona's Universal Pectin keeps indefinitely when stored in an airtight container. Easy to use, versatile, and comes with directions and recipes in every box. Find out more and where to buy at PomonaPectin.com. Also available at natural food stores and online.
Rootmaker starts your plants off right and keeps them going through harvest. From their seed starting trays with an innovative design that air prunes the roots to their large variety of grow bags, 1 to 60 gallons. Their products will provide you the harvest you've never seen before. Visit rootmaker.com. Use coupon code ROOT24 to save 15% off your order at rootmaker.com. That coupon code is ROOT24 to save 15% off your order at rootmaker.com. If you could double the life of your raised bed boxes by sealing the wood with a clear non-toxic wood preservative, would you? Well, now you can with a clear, penetrating product called Internal Wood Stabilizer. It's 100% non-toxic and easy to apply. Seal your untreated wood surfaces, even chicken coops, by spraying on Internal Wood Stabilizer. It's invisible, seals the wood from the inside out, and never wears off. Recommended by organic gardening experts. Internal Wood Stabilizer. Check it out at timberprocoatingsusa.com.
Wind River Chimes will always be the inspiring harmony. With a large selection and customization options, you will find the sound that soothes you. Visit windriverchimes.com to shop and find out more.
Welcome back to the Garden with Joe and Holly radio show. Happy to have you along today. Holly, let's go to the hotline and bring in our guest for this week.
Darrell Frey has been a permaculture consultant and teacher since 1987. He is a lifelong learner with a strong background in horticulture, natural sciences, regenerative systems, and permaculture design. He has an extensive practical experience in small business management, homesteading, construction, and project management. Welcome to the program, Darrell.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, we appreciate you taking time out of your day, not only to educate Holly and myself, but all of our listeners. And I'll start with this. People may not be familiar with the term permaculture. What is permaculture in the simplest form?
Well, the most simply stated, permaculture is a system of ecological design.
There you go. And it's permaculture can be utilized in creating something and then adding to it, or creating something and walking away and letting nature take over from that. Could that be as well?
Well, yeah, that can be a goal, setting up little ecosystems. I mean, a lot of permaculture, being a design system, there's a lot of upfront planning, study, research, and then but like with any gardening system, the more you maintain it, the better, more productive it is.
Right.
So what would be like an example, if somebody has a backyard vegetable garden, would that be considered permaculture? Would it go deeper than that?
Yeah, the originator of permaculture, Bill Mollison, he said it's not necessarily how you garden, it's where you locate your garden relative to your house. And so, we might suggest someone have a kitchen garden close to their back door, and their more productive vegetable garden a little further away, and then their fruit trees at the back end of their yard. So it's a lot about how you lay out your property to begin with to make the most efficient use of your time and energy and resources.
Okay. So speaking of, you mentioned fruit trees and food forests, what are they and how can they benefit those around them?
Yeah, food forests are really an ancient technique. In our food forest handbook I co-authored, the first chapter discusses food forests around the world, and really native people, indigenous cultures, and even European societies planted a lot of perennials, mimicking nature, stacking plants together to be more productive. For example, if you have an apple tree, you certainly can grow some herbs, flowers, and even vegetables around the drip edge. So food forest is basically combining perennials to get the most out of the space.
So a lot of there's a little bit of planning that has to go into that, because obviously if you got your tree, you've kind of got to plan ahead of where the maximum growth of it will be in order to put that the plants underneath the drip line.
Correct. On one of the little food forest systems at my farm, we grew a lot of annuals while the main apple tree was growing. Also, a lot of perennial herbs. And then as the tree got bigger and shady spots, we put plants that liked shade. So just like in an ecosystem, there's kind of a succession of plants that evolve, and all with the eye towards getting the most production out of the space.
Excellent. So if somebody wants to join a community garden, what are some things they should consider first before they start, looking for a plot?
Yeah, I spend a lot of time in Pittsburgh, and I'm involved in a lot of community gardens, and a big part of it is the actual community. In Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, there's an organization called Grow Pittsburgh, and they help get community gardens started. So they find a group of people that want to have a community garden, and they help them come up with, maybe some bylaws, maybe a treasurer, help them procure funding for fencing. So the most important part of community gardening is that community of people that are willing to work together, because they all want some garden space.
Well, when we talk about community gardens, we see the good things online. Are there certain questions, if I'm looking to go be part of a community garden, are there certain things that I should be asking right away? And is there certain things that if I hear, I need to go elsewhere?
Well, for instance, in my community garden space this year, a groundhog got in. And I think there was a slow period between, in your home garden, if you have a home garden space, you can probably deal with that kind of thing right away.
Right.
So in a community garden, you want to make sure that there are people who are willing to take care of those kind of things quickly, and even have agreements on how you deal with the groundhog getting into your garden. So yeah, I would meet with the people and know that everyone's taking care of their own plots, and somebody has an aphid outbreak, maybe they'll spray some soap on it. You just want to know that everyone's good neighbors in the garden. The community garden I'm involved with, a portion of the produce is donated back every week to a local food bank. So that helps make for a nice community. And so it's a fun group of people, and everyone seems to get along.
And I guess that in a community garden, if there is a bad apple, let's label that, they won't be around too long. They will go on their way whenever they feel pressure, or there'll be enough people that complain that will cause them to leave, and then you can have more of a unity of a community garden.
Yeah, I haven't ran into any problems, but I can see that could happen. And it's the community garden I'm involved with, they've also had some not weekly, but a couple meetings a month, and some events at the end of the year to build community. So, and then people are willing to share their produce, which is another good part of a community garden. You might only get a 2-foot by 12-foot space, but your neighbor has peppers and you have tomatoes, and then we have community plots of herbs, so everybody can take from the perennial herb plots. So it's been really an enjoyable experience for me.
And you bring up the size. It's not, there's not a universal all community plots are this size. So if you're looking for a specific size, you'll have to shop around. But like you said, I trade with you, you trade with me. We get both what we want. It's the barter system. They can't tax the barter system.
Right. Yeah.
So there's many different methods of composting. You know, there's hot composting, passive composting, cool composting. Do you have a preference of composting method, and what is it and why?
Yeah, I was a organic farmer for 25 years. We sold produce to restaurants, so we always had to do hot composting for our vegetable production, you know, just to sell it, especially if you're using animal manures. You know, using in an urban environment, I definitely strongly believe that it needs to be contained. So your kitchen scraps have to be in a container that isn't going to attract rodents. And that doesn't necessarily heat up if you don't manage it, you know, with the right carbon nitrogen available. So I think whatever method you can use, as long as your organic matter is broken down. But if you're worried about any pathogens coming through or diseases, it doesn't hurt to keep your grass clippings, and before you put the compost from your compost bin into the garden, to, you know, compost it for a few extra days with a lot of heat. Just make sure it's, you know, safe to use. But the old organic gardening magazines, Ruth Stout used to just tuck her extra kitchen scraps under the straw and compost in the ground. So there's a lot of different methods, but I definitely like it to be hot.
Right. Yeah. If it's hot and you know that it's hit a certain temperature for a certain amount of hours, the likelihood of anything being in there is almost zero, and you can feel better about using it or giving it to somebody else.
Right.
Well, why should or why would someone hire a permaculture consultant versus do it yourself?
Well, I would say the best thing is to do it yourself if you have the skills and knowledge. A permaculture consultant, you know, has studied rain barrels and energy systems, you know, if you want a solar water pump. And so most of us with a few years experience have a lot of background that can advise people. A lot of our permaculture consultation is a 2-hour visit where we answer as many questions as possible. And then we might offer mentorship. And so maybe 1 in 10 people want a full design plan, but we really want to encourage people to be self-sufficient. That's a big part of permaculture.
Okay. So would it be something where with the permaculture experts or consultants where you kind of, when somebody's a permaculture consultant, do you provide just like the consulting part, or do you actually like help plant the plants? What's the extent of the consultants versus it being like
I tell you
like
what to do. Yeah.
How does that all work?
Well, my own business is a design build business, so we do, you know, a certain amount of installations a year, or we do certain property management for people. So it really depends on the client's needs. This year we had a client that wanted a food forest in their suburban yard and a container gardenings on their deck. So we basically came in and helped them, you know, help them. It was like a family event. So their family came and we planted lots of fruit trees and herbs in their yard. And then we built planters and we started the seeds with their children, mentoring their gardening. So, you know, we can do it all if needed.
Now, the question that came to my mind when you said in their front yard, obviously it's municipality varies, but was there any problem with the city saying this is okay, or was there permits in which you had to pull, or how did that work with putting that in the front yard?
Well, Pittsburgh's pretty liberal. There's lots of people have wildflowers and vegetables growing in their yards. That they actually allow chickens and even a sheep, if goat, if you have a reasonably enough lot. You can raise bees if you have 2,000 square feet. You can have a chicken or up to 4 to 6 chickens if you have 1,000 square foot lot. So, but it's best to check your local rules and regulations. But in Pittsburgh, they allow it. So. Encourage it, actually.
That's really good. You definitely, I know in some municipalities have to look out for that. Where if somebody were to hire a permaculture consultant, would they be able to know about like permits and things like that?
Yes. When we do a 2-week training in permaculture design, the last day or so, we talk about invisible structures like legal issues and permits and concerns. Just, you really do need to know those things.
Right. Well, Darrell, we greatly appreciate the time and the education you've offered Holly and myself. How can people find more out about you?
Well, my own website is threesisterspermaculture.com. I'm also involved in the Permaculture Institute of North America, which is PINA.IN. So they can learn about permaculture designers and teachers all over North America through PINA.IN.
Well, Darrell, thank you so much for the time and your wisdom that you've shared with us. We greatly appreciate that.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing gardening with your audience.
Absolutely. And when we come back, it's going to be your garden questions and our garden answers. You're tuned in the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show.
Got a question for Joey and Holly? Send it via email anytime to gardentalkradio@gmail.com.
Are you bugged by bugs? You need Naturally Green Products No More Bugs, environmentally friendly. Made in the USA, No More Bugs is a cedar blend that repels and eliminates mosquitoes, no-see-ums, ticks, fleas, roaches, ants, and more. No More Bugs is safe for you, your pets, and plants. Available online at nomorebugs.net, Amazon, Walmart.com, and the Home Shopping Network. Jung Seed Company is a family-owned and operated seed company since 1907 with the largest selection of seeds and plants online. Use coupon code 10TG24 to save 10% off your order at jungseed.com. The coupon code is 10TG24 at jungseed.com for 10% off.
Your mosquito frustrations are over. Now with Mega Catch, suitable for residential and commercial use. Mega Catch mosquito traps produce a vast array of mosquito-attracted stimuli, including safe CO2, and can attract mosquitoes and other biting insects up to 150 feet away. Easy to use and set up. The Mega Catch is ready to make your outdoor space comfortable and enjoyable at megacatch.com. Use coupon code JOEYB, my name, Joey B, at checkout and receive 20% discount on your entire trap order at megacatch.com.
Garden like a pro in 3 easy steps and receive customized fertilizer recommendations for your garden or lawn. Soil Savvy helps you determine what nutrients your plants need to thrive. Never again over-apply nutrients they don't need. A patented process that makes you a smart gardener. To get your soil test kit, go to mysoilsavvy.com.
Soil Diva Liquid Microbe Stimulant Spray improves the health of your plants you work hard to grow. Stimulates the natural enzymes and increases beneficial soil bacteria. Go to soildiva.net. Soildiva.net. Water supply tanks provide BPA-free, long-term safe storage for drinking water from 35 to 1,500 gallon tanks. Water supply tanks has you covered. From preparing for unexpected needs, off-grid property, easy gardening access, and more. For questions and to order, visit watersupplytanks.com and use coupon code GARDENING10 to save 10% off your order. Welcome back to the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. Time for your garden questions, our garden answers. You can send them over to gardentalkradio@gmail.com. That's gardentalkradio@gmail.com. Or you can give us a call toll free, coast to coast, at 1-800-927-SHOW. That's 1-800-927-7469. If we can't get to you, leave a message. We'll call you back with an answer to your question. What do we got, Holly, for questions here?
All right, so I just watched one of your videos on YouTube about building and filling raised garden beds. My question is, what do you do to prevent weeds from growing up into the garden? We live in Florida, and the grass and weeds here grow quickly and take over. If you don't use anything in the bottom of the bed to prevent weeds, is there anything you would recommend to use?
Well, if you have raised beds, you're going to have weeds no matter what you do. The severity of the weeds will dictate on the preparation of the bed and your environment. If you're going to build a raised bed, you can put a couple of layers of cardboard down on the ground. Now, if you're just going to put a raised bed over top of a manicured lawn or grass, you're going to have no problem at all. Where you get into issues is if you're going to build a raised bed over an area that is not the most prettiest of grass, where you have lamb's quarter, you have thistles, you have weeds growing up. The 2 layers of cardboard will help smother out some of those less aggressive weeds. However, when we put our raised beds in, personal experience here telling you how it is, we had a problem with thistles. Now, we had a problem with thistles in the ground garden prior in years when we didn't have raised beds, when we just did in-ground garden. So we did put weed barrier down as the cardboard on the base of the raised beds, yet it's still the aggressiveness of the thistles work through the cardboard and 8, 9, and 10 inches of soil. So instead of using a glyphosate weed killer, we did use an organic weed killer to burn the tops off as we saw them emerge through the compost. We also took the method of taking a shovel or a spade and going as deep as we could and then cutting it off below soil grade, 4 or 5 inches deep, however far we could, continuously throughout the summer to stress the plant out to the point where it's not capable of regenerating energy to find the sunlight to photosynthesize. So it took about 1 season, and since we had stressed those plants out and did that with the thistles, the thistle problem has dissipated. We do have problems with regular weeds, some fescue, some of that, some lamb's quarter, primarily because of the lack of getting on top of the weeds before the weeds get too big. We all face this problem. We've just kind of, should have done it last week, going to do it next week. 2 weeks later, and then the weeds get too big, and we got to pull them out. So I think that's answered the question. I don't know, but hopefully that has helped. Does the raised bed reduce the amount of weeds? Yes, to a degree, but it is all based on what the land is doing before you put the raised bed on. Now, can you put an actual weed barrier underneath the raised bed? You certainly can. The disadvantage to that is the lack of natural enzymes and bugs and worms migrating from native soil up into the raised bed. You're prohibiting that. You're blocking that off, just as if you're putting a raised bed on a concrete surface. So I would advise to not do that, to deal with the weeds, to allow the worms and the native bugs and insects to migrate up into your raised beds for the long term.
Now, there you go. That's very smart. So, other question came in is it safe to grow flowers and non-edibles in full-size tractor tires? And the short answer is yes, as long as they are non-edibles, flowers, etc. It is possible that some of the chemicals can leach into the soil, but if you're growing flowers, it's fine. You don't want to, in turn use that soil for a vegetable garden. You want to keep it separate for those ornamentals and whatnot.
And you can also paint your tires. You can do it in car tires or whatever. You can paint whatever and have it very aesthetically pleasing, and don't have to worry about that. Okay, what else do we have here? I got to find the sheet here.
Can I grow garlic from seed? So you can, but it's a very long process and it's not really guaranteed.
Right. Growing garlic from seed, planting garlic seed is a bit difficult than the actual garlic clove that we are familiar with. While seed garlic will produce a harvestable crop following years of garlic seed taking, it takes a bit longer to harvest. The tiny bulblets is much smaller than the garlic clove, and the plant will need a full year to generate and establish in the soil to grow a full-size garlic clove. So, if you're planting garlic in the fall, the cloves will plant in October and harvest as early June. Usually we got the hard neck, so you got the scapes. So we let it set and harvest the scapes and let it set for a couple more weeks to kind of die back a little bit. And then early July, we harvest the garlic bulb. If you are planting garlic seed, you're going to plant it in the fall as normal, but you're not going to touch it until the fall again. So that real estate, based on the value of it in your backyard, do you need it? Can it set aside for garlic for a whole year, or do I need it in the summer after I plant it in October, harvest it in June, and then plant a late crop of potatoes or tomatoes or fill in the blank? Up to you, but the advantage of the clove is we plant in October, harvest it in June. It's large. The larger the clove, the better opportunity to have larger bulbs, and we find it to be a less hassled deal. Now, with the hardneck, when it goes to a scape, if left unharvested, that scape will grow vertical, much like you will see in a leek or onion, and put on a very big flower, which will contain garlic seed. That is what you would be planting. But we remove the scape about 4 weeks prior to harvesting the bulb in order to reduce the energy that would be put into the scape to maximize the bulb development that last 4 weeks, so we can get as big of a bulb as we possibly can. So that is what I would recommend. Obviously, if you want to try to do such by planting garlic seed, you can do that. But I find that the bulb planting is good for what we need to. So, with that being said, we are out of time, and it's time for what we learned today.
Yeah, so I learned today that you should not neglect your evergreen maintenance on your trees.
I learned from our guest, Darrell Frey, that in a permaculture setting, the drip line of a mature tree, you can actually plant things around that in order to act as a natural irrigation system, which is pretty neat. What we learned today is brought to you by Honey Bee Healthy.
HoneyBeeHealthy.com is serious about the business of bees and helping beekeepers maintain healthy and thriving hives. Whether you're a professional beekeeper or a bee hobbyist, we've got the products to help you maintain a healthy hive. Honey Bee Healthy products are made in the USA. Visit HoneyBeeHealthy.com.
Tune into the program next week where we'll be discussing reestablishing garden facts. There's some things that are getting kind of muddled in the muck. We're going to clean that up, as well as canning mistakes. We're in that season, and our guest is author Dee Nash. So until next week, for
Holly Baird,
I'm Joy Baird, and we will see you in the garden.